They are 5-8 on the season. They have no hopes for a playoff. And this is a team in transition as they are going to finish their second season under 500. And some big names are involved in that transition. On the other side of the coin, well, the Los Angeles Rams are still thinking playoffs, and they can become an NFC wild card if four things happen. And let's take a look at those four things chronologically. First and foremost, they must win tonight over the Cowboys. Then the Vikings must lose to the Redskins, that game on Saturday. The Cardinals then must defeat the Cowboys on Sunday afternoon. And the Rams then come back and defeat the 49ers on Sunday night up in San Francisco. It's a very tall order. But Al Michaels, this team was 1-7 at the beginning of the season. They were wrought with dissension from internally. And John Robinson has to be very proud of the way they come back. And they're playing really fine football right now.
No question about it, Frank. And, you know, it's sort of an in vogue expression to say somebody's having a career year. Charles White is having an entire career in 1 year. Charles White, who took over for Eric Dickerson after the Dickerson trade, is a man who has been playing in the National Football League since 1980 when he was a rookie with the Cleveland Browns. Barring injury, he'll gain more yardage in this one season than in his entire career coming in to 1987. So White, I think, proves one thing. The Rams have a terrific offensive line, and not to diminish Dickerson's talents, but Eric left, White took over, and the Rams' running game hasn't skipped a beat. Meanwhile, Jim Everett is maturing very promisingly. Henry Ellard and Ron Brown are looking better as the wideouts. The defense is doing the job. The Rams generally are beating up on some inferior opposition, but you play the hand you're dealt. And over the last month or so, the Rams have been playing those hands very, very well to the tune of a 5-game winning streak. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, Dan, the Dallas Cowboys are going in an entirely opposite direction.
Yeah, it's called South. The Dallas Cowboys, Al, haven't won in the last 4 weeks. They've dropped 4 in a row, 7 out of their last 9. Now, you couple this with the fact that they lost 7 out of their last 8 at the conclusion of last year. And so you've got a team that really is struggling. And I think when that happens, the focus lands in 3 different areas. One, you look at the older guys. And I think tonight, guys like Ed Jones, Randy White, Tony Dorsett, these guys are under the microscope as to whether or not they fit into the Dallas future. The quarterback position, Steve Pelleur will be the starter tonight. A lot of questions in Dallas as to whether this is the guy that can quarterback Dallas back to the winning side of the ledger. We'll see a little bit tonight. And then finally, it's the coach. Tom Landry in his 28th year with the Cowboys. It's unthinkable. People are saying maybe the game has passed him by. I kind of doubt it. Don't make book on Tom Landry not being back for year number 29 next year.
And so Tom Landry brings his Dallas Cowboys into Anaheim Stadium. The Rams needing a victory to stay alive. John Robinson watched his team begin with a mark of 1-7. There was a great deal of turmoil and dissension and acrimony. And now all of a sudden they are not that far away from a playoff berth. But first things first, and here we go from Anaheim Stadium on a nice evening with the temperature in the high 50s. And the Cowboys kicking off to the Rams, where it's fielded by Ron Brown at the 10-yard line. And Brown brings it back out to the 25. So the Rams begin from there. And Jim Everett, last year drafted by Houston, didn't sign with the Oilers, traded to the Rams, became the Rams starting quarterback late in the season, and has been at the helm throughout 1987. Mike Gooman and Charles White are the running backs, Brown and Eller the wideouts, and David Hill starts the game at tight end. And there is that great offensive line. John Robinson said Tom Newberry, the left guard last week, played as good a game as he has ever seen any guard play against Atlanta. From the 27, the Rams begin with 2 tight ends, and Everett goes right to the air, has a man wide open, and it's Henry Ellard for a first down at the 42-yard line. He was covered by the rookie cornerback Ron Francis. First down, Los Angeles. The Dallas defense up front, Too Tall Jones with Kevin Brooks. Randy White has been spelled quite a bit of late by Noonan, and Jeffcoat is the right end. They are beaten up as far as the linebackers are concerned. Penn, DiAsi, and ROHRER. They have lost Hegman and they have lost Lockhart to broken legs. And there's the secondary. First down, Rams from the 42-yard line. And White's first carry of the night is good for a yard or 2, where he's met by Jesse Penn at the 44-yard line. Second down and 8.
A good look there, I think, at the Cowboy defensive front. You notice how they were jumping around. I think they're going to try to show the Ram offensive line a lot of different sets, a lot of different looks tonight, and they'll be flexing in that defensive there. Guys up on the line of scrimmage, guys back off. I hate to say it for the Cowboys, but they're going to have to try to play some games up front with that Ram front, because I don't think they're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage against Los Angeles.
Again, double tight end with Damone Johnson now going in motion and off the play fake. It's Everett, protected well and throwing to Gooman at the 49-yard line, short of a first down. He is stopped by Steve Diassi. Downs and Diassi both in on the tackle. And Mike Gooman, the fullback, makes his 18th catch of the season.
And what an unlikely backfield if you would have looked at it at the beginning of the season. Mike Gooman and Charles White. But they have performed so well over the past few weeks. 5 straight victories. And, of course, the Dallas Cowboys are playing without a couple of regular linebackers. Missing is Mike Hagman at the left side, and the middle linebacker is Steve Diassi replacing Gene Lockhart. And that will make a big difference in their defense.
3rd and 1 from the 49-yard line, and White can't get the first down as he stopped at the line of scrimmage. The tackle is made by number 99, Kevin Brooks. And the Rams will now have it 4th and 1 at the 49-yard line, and Robinson sends in the punting unit with Dale Hatcher to kick it away.
I think we're going to see one thing for sure tonight, guys, and that's a Cowboy team that plays with a lot of emotion. Not a fun place to be in Dallas with a losing streak like this going on, and this is not a team that's going to roll over and die. I think we're going to see some hard hitting.
Hatcher having a good year, gets off a beauty, and a fair catch is called for by Martin, but he lets it bounce, and it bounds into the end zone for a touchback. And so the Cowboys will take over at their own 20. No score, 13:06 to play in the first period. Danny White had a big day at Washington, but he's back on the bench, and they'll go with Steve Pellure making his 3rd start of the year. He started against Miami and against Atlanta, and he'll be complimented in the backfield by Walker and Newsom. Then you've got Edwards and Renfro, the wideouts. Cosby is the tight end, and there is the revamped and young at least at the tackles, offensive line with 2 rookies. 1st and 10 as Pellure goes right up top. Under pressure, has to scramble out. He is a mobile quarterback, and that time he's able to turn a potential sack into a 4-yard gain. Eckern and Meisner in on the stop. Reed, Meisner, and Reggie Doss, the 3 men up front. Sean Miller is still out with a bad ankle. Owens, Eckern. Jim Collins leads the team in tackles, and Wilcher, the outside linebacker. Gray and Irvin have done great jobs at the corners. They are banged up at safety. Cromwell and the rookie Michael Stewart start there. But Johnny Johnson is out for the year, and so is Vince Newsom. From the 24, 2nd down and 6. And it's Herschel Walker. His first carry of the night gets him out to the 28-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 2. And the outside linebacker, the steady one, number 58, Mel Owens, makes the tackle. And when you look at Walker's numbers, there are his figures on the ground. He is just as valuable, though, as a receiver. He leads the team in catches with 51.
And as we watched him, if you've been watching the Cowboys much this season, you know they'll move him all over. They'll start him in the backfield. They'll move him out to the weak side as a receiver, try to get single coverage on Herschel Walker, because he leads the ball club with 51 receptions. He's a good receiver.
He's a pretty good little chess piece is what it amounts to. 3rd down and 2 from the 28-yard line. Pellure going deep on 3rd and short to Walker, and there he is exhibiting his skill as a receiver.
And I think right there, guys, is a good look at one of the statistics we saw when we flashed up that graphic on Walker. He's got a 12-yard average as a receiver coming out of the backfield. Rarely do you see a running back in double digits, and this is a good look why. He beats Jimmy Collins, who wasn't even in the picture when Herschel makes the catch. It's not often you'll see a back that's got that kind of an average coming out of the backfield.
And Dan, so often you can get a back out of the backfield on a linebacker, as we just saw there.
Good for a gain at 24. There he is again. Big hole, and he exploits it for another first down, taking it down to the 34-yard line. And the 2 safeties, the last line of defense, stop him, Stewart and Cromwell. 14 yards for Walker.
Well, if he has value as a receiver, this is really, though, where you take this guy to the bank. Just out of the I formation, he's seen this a million times behind Newsom, the lead blocker, and that's a good job at the line of scrimmage. Herschel didn't really have to fight for much until he was 7 or 8 yards downfield.
Cowboys have moved from their own 20 to the Rams 34. No score early in the first period. And Pelluer protected well, throws complete to the 27 to the tight end Doug Cosby, who was wrapped up by Jim Collins.
Cowboys making it look very easy against a tough Ram defense. We talked so much about their offense having come around this season. It's a defensive team that over the last 3 games has given up only 19 points, only 1 touchdown, and they're very proud of this tough defense, and the Cowboys just picking it apart on the ground in the air.
Tony Dorsett now comes into the game with Walker splitting wide to the right, but Dorsett in at tailback on 2nd down and a long 2. And it's Dorsett taking the flip, out-racing Collins and getting the first down inside the 20-yard line. Stopped by Gray and Stewart. An impressive Dallas opening drive.
2 rookies in that offensive line, too. Kevin Grogan over on the right side, a rookie from Washington. As we watch from the end zone, Darrell Smith, number 79, over on the left side. You see Smith with a good block protecting Pelluer. Gets it out on a little kind of a screen, a little one-man screen, as Kevin Grogan, the rookie, is out in front. Gets the block. Dorsett gets the first down.
So the Cowboys have marched 63 yards already on this drive. 1st and 10. Walker is now slotted, and he goes in motion from the 17-yard line. And the handoff goes to Timmy Newsome. His first carry of the night takes him to the 16-yard line for a gain of 1. He is stopped by Doug Reed. Newsome, good average. He's the fullback, carries the ball sparingly. That's only his 22nd carry of the year. And as you see, he's averaging 5.3, so you can't forget about him.
He became the fullback back when Herschel Walker became the tailback against New England 5 weeks ago. And he's a good blocker, but he's a fine receiver out of that backfield. With Walker and Newsome both in there, we've got a couple of threats.
2nd and 9, and a big hole with Dorsett taking it down to the 7-yard line. Tony Dorsett, who has to play second fiddle now to Herschel Walker. Dorsett has been very sparingly used over the last month since Walker moved into the starting lineup.
And again, Frank talked about the fullback. It's Timmy Newsome who comes in out of the I formation, gets the block. Carl Eckern out of the play, and again, it's the Ram safeties that have to come up and make the play. And if that's the way it's going to be tonight for Los Angeles, Dorsett, Walker, and company are going to have a lot of success. A very impressive opening drive for the Cowboys.
The Rams are coming off a shutout of Atlanta last week. Right now, Dallas has driven down the field 1st and goal. And it's Dorsett taking it to the 1-yard line. And Tony's already carried 3 times for a total of 24 yards.
And Al, my initial reaction was to say, well, this isn't Atlanta they're playing, until I remember that Atlanta beat Dallas.
Right.
Puts Tony Dorsett over 12,000, and I'll tell you, that's pretty lofty company as we watch again as the little man from Pittsburgh, been around 11 years, been a tough year for him emotionally, living with Herschel Walker as it was a year ago, but there he is, over 12,000. That's truly remarkable.
Only Peyton, Jim Brown, and Franco Harris are over 12,000 as well, as Walker takes it in for the score. And the Cowboys shred the Ram defense on a very impressive 80-yard opening drive. Newsome leads the way. Walker goes in. Dorsett helps to set it up. Cosby makes a key catch along the way, and Dallas leads 6-0.
It was that easy.
Oh, what a picture-perfect block by Newsome. Watch Timmy Newsome in motion. He's going to come upfield and down to the ground. That's Nolan Cromwell, and that makes it look easy. Timmy Newsome, give him the credit. Herschel Walker ought to thank him when he gets over the bench. That might have been Newsome's hand right there.
Roger Ruzek has not missed an extra point this season. He's 21 of 21. Pelluer puts it down, and Ruzek boots it through. And the Cowboys go 80 yards in 10 plays and lead 7-0 with 8:17 to play in the first quarter at Anaheim.
Ron Brown and Tim
Tom Landry has just watched his team methodically drive the length of the field to take a 7-0 lead with 8:17 to play in the first quarter. Cowboys will not be going to the playoffs. The Rams still have hope. They trail here 7-0, and Ruzek's kick comes down to the 1-yard line. Ron Brown, 10, 20, 30, out past the 40 and upended at the 46-yard line by the kicker, Ruzek.
Well, Ruzek gets credit for the tackle, but it was Michael Downs, number 26, that slowed him down. A 45-yard return, but Michael Downs slowed Brown down, or that might have been it. About 20 yards before Ruzek got in on it. We're going to see Michael Downs be the guy that really slows him down, Frank.
There's the wedge, big opening, and the great speedster, the Olympic gold medalist in the 4x100 relay in 84 turns on the speed, and we know he can bring him back. He's done that several times in his career already.
So the Rams have it at the 46-yard line, and Charles White over the left side and finds nothing, and he's wrapped up by Steve Diassi, the fourth-year linebacker out of Boston College, and we touched on their injuries, and that's why Diassi is in there starting tonight. Meanwhile, take a look at Jim Everett, and his fortunes parallel the Rams. The average per pass in the league is about 7 yards per pass for a quarterback. As you can see, Everett not very good through the first 6 games, and the Rams not very good. But over the last 4, all of which the Rams have won, he's averaged 10.1 yards per pass, which is a terrific average.
2 weeks ago, he had his first 300-yarder against Detroit.
2nd and 9, and Everett gets dumped. Randy White, in his 13th season out of Maryland, and a man who can't practice because of a bad neck, winds up on Everett's neck for the sack.
There's that pinched nerve in the neck, and sometimes it's so severe for Randy. I mean, when he gets down into a 3-point stance, and watching number 54, and he puts his head up to look at the man across from him, as he does here against Doug Smith before releasing to make the sack, well, sometimes his arms will start to go numb. And that's a very tough situation. It's hard to improve with any kind of a therapy, and there is a whole lot of concern about Randy White's future physically.
Randy's first sack in the last 5 games. A good indication of how he's been hurt.
3rd and 17 from the 39-yard line, and over the middle to the tight end Johnson to the 41 for a first down. Damone Johnson, and his availability will be limited tonight. He too has been banged up, which is one reason David Hill started, but he comes in a passing situation and gets open over the middle.
You know, we were talking about Jim Everett a moment ago, his statistics, but more than statistics, when you watched him on that last play, he dropped back, looked one way, he set up, there was nothing tentative about it, fired the completion, and he looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. We have not seen that before.
20-yard gain. Everett is 3 for his first 3. And from the 42-yard line, Everett goes to the wide receiver, Ellard, who drops the ball. Now, that's something that has plagued the Rams, or did early on in the season. Ellard and Brown were dropping a lot of balls, but not so of late.
I remember the Monday night game in Cleveland where Jim Everett got no help at the beginning of the ball game. And talking to John Robinson this morning about Ellard, about Ron Brown, remember he told us Ernie Zampese, he said, I wish I could just bring Charlie Joyner into our practices for a month so our guys involved in the passing game could see his work ethic, to see how he approaches every practice, every catch, every ball that comes his way is do or die. A receiver's got to think that way 24 hours a day.
It's an old cliche, but a good one. You practice, play like you practice.
On 2nd and 10, going for Goulman, who was covered one-on-one by the linebacker Diassi, but too deep. Not a couple of Olympic sprinters in that matchup there.
You like to get that matchup of a running back on a linebacker, but not necessarily when it's Mike Goulman. Diassi might be the right linebacker to pick on. He's not real fleet of foot, but if he's slow, Mike Goulman might be slower.
Playing with a very bad ankle, too. He couldn't go last week, and they had to put a rookie in there, Ron Burton, who everyone seemed to think on the Cowboys organization did a fine job. A rookie free agent out of North Carolina.
Go, 3rd and 10 now. Rams at the 42. Dallas leads 7-0. 6:15 to play in the period. Fake to White. And then Everett throws to the 22-yard line to Brown. And Brown takes it inside the 15.
The toughest part of being a cornerback is coming up and trying to make that tackle after the catch. And that time Ron Francis came up a little short.
There was a safety blitz. You saw number 22, Victor Scott. And when you are a rookie, you've been watching Ron Brown many times, many years. With that great speed, you're going to be very careful when you're man for man. And with the blitz, that's exactly what Ron Francis was.
Gain of 29, 1st and 10, Rams at the Dallas 12 with Goulman in motion and White on a sweep. And Charles takes it down to the 8-yard line. Gooman led the way as he took out Bill Bates. A gain of about 4. It'll be 2nd and 6.
That time Steve Diassi got over from the inside. Let's look at it from ground level. There comes Gooman, 44 on Bates. He does his job, kicks him to the outside, but it was strung out pretty good. The Cowboys that time flowed to the hole. Ed Jones at the point of attack, shut it down. Cowboys are doing a little stamping, but it's the Rams looking to tie it.
2nd and 6 with both Ellard and Brown split to the left. White is the tailback. Ellard comes in motion, and it's Charlie White. Touchdown!
Modest little hole off right tackle.
Jackie Slater, one of the best in the business over the right side. They're doing it without Dennis Harrah and right guard tonight. They're Duval Love in there as we look again. Big opening. Jackie Slater doing a tremendous job against Ed Jones, turning him to the outside. And Dan, you played against him so many times, Ed Jones. That's not the easiest thing to do.
Well, did you see the look? Watch Slater. Gives him a pass set. You see him come up out of his stance. Makes it look like a pass. Jones takes 2 steps upfield, and Ed's out of the play. Smart play that time by Slater.
And Charlie White, a free run into the end zone as Lansford ties the game with 5:23. The Cowboys that time looked like they were lined up in a glasnost defense. Oh, he was a legend, all right. Roger Staubach, the longtime Dallas Cowboy quarterback.
Boy, has he been difficult to follow for this man, Danny White. He came in, replaced him, and went to 3 NFC championship games. That wasn't quite it. He never really was accepted. And very talented young man now with a very delicate right wrist.
Mike Lansford kicks off, and it's a short bouncing kick fielded at the 10-yard line by Darryl Flack. And Flack, who broke off a good one against Washington last week to help get Dallas back into the game, takes it to the 31-yard line. Now, coming up Friday, and that's Christmas Day, the Kelly Tire Blue-Gray Football Classic. The All-Star game coming from Montgomery. And then the Bruins of UCLA with Troy Aikman and Gaston Green take on the Florida Gators in the Eagle Aloha Bowl. Then, Friday, January 1st, in the Florida Citrus Bowl, it's Penn State taking on Clemson. Your day begins with that one, followed by the USF&G Sugar Bowl. Don McPherson in Syracuse against the Auburn Tigers. Pallur on 1st and 10 from the 31-yard line. Gets great protection, throws, Walker makes the catch, and he's written down by Owens.
Oh, what a great throw by Pallur. Rams typically in their zone defense, and Pallur had to loft it over the underneath man, and he did it absolutely beautifully. And again, good protection, but watch Pallur. He sits back with a lot of time, gets a good block from the rookie over in the right side, and just puts it right over the outstretched arms of Mel Owens, but give Kevin Gogan a lot of credit. Good block to give Pallur the protection.
1st and 10, Cowboys at the 49-yard line. With Cosby in motion. Nice block by Newsome for Walker as he takes it out of bounds at the 44-yard line. Newsome helping to lead the way.
This is Timmy Newsome on Nolan Cromwell again, I believe. Cromwell coming up for support, but there's Cosby's block. But watch Timmy Newsome on Cromwell, and he's making a habit out of this, putting number 21 on the ground, and Herschel, the beneficiary, around the corner. And hey, Herschel Walker just couldn't get it much easier than that. Picks up nice yardage and doesn't even take a lick. Steps out of bounds, but no contact whatsoever. And Timmy boy, you're killing him.
Big man, he goes over 230.
2nd and 3 at the 44. That's Ron Barksdale, the sprinter in motion. And Walker with a flag down. It's the first penalty of the game. He takes it to the 42-yard line.
I don't know if the umpire meant to hit Tom Rafferty with the flag, but it was a pretty good toss. It hit Tom Rafferty, I think, right in the chest as he was turning around. We'll see if the umpire is a good aim or if he was just throwing it in the general direction of the middle of the line.
Holding 64. Offense, 10 yards.
Good aim.
Still 2nd down.
Boy, that's where an official gets vindictive. It's tough enough to call the penalty, but hit the guy with the flag, that's adding a little insult to injury here.
We mean you.
Tom is really the stabilizer of that offensive line. Been around for 12 years. Look at him right in the middle, number 64. Does a pretty good job working on Greg Meisner. And and then he gets the flag right in the back.
Yeah, you talk about an in-your-face call. 2nd and 13, and it's Pelluer doing what he does so well, able to escape, turn a loss into a gain down to the 45-yard line, and it'll be 3rd down and 4.
That's something the Cowboys always knew that Steve Pelluer could do. He's very mobile. He's a big, strong kid. He's 6'4", 208 pounds, and as you see, he's a very effective rusher. He's not that easy to sack in the backfield. His problems have been inconsistency in throwing the football, and really, his toughest thing to overcome is a lot of the people in the Cowboy organization feel he's not aggressive enough. He's not enough of a leader. That's what they'd like to see more of from Steve Pelluer, a take-charge guy, as we see Kevin Cogan take charge and start a couple beats early. But again, talking about Pelluer, they'd like to see, I guess, Al, simply a little more fire in his eye.
They feel that he is, as the term goes, laid back.
Offense, number 66, 5 yards, still 3rd down.
There's a difference between being laid back and, let's say, loosey-goosey, because you talk about somebody like a Don Meredith. There was a guy who was loosey-goosey, but a leader as well. But for Pelluer, they just want to see him be a little bit more fiery.
Don loosey-goosey.
You tell me.
About as loose as they come.
One thing Steve Pelluer has to be well aware of, and I'm sure he is, that the people's choice in Dallas is Kevin Sweeney, who quarterbacked the Cowboys during the replacement game.
3rd down, 9 from the 50, from the shotgun. Pelluer with the protection breaking down, gets sacked. Number 91, Kevin Green.
That time the guy that got beat was Kevin Gogan, the right tackle. Pretty bad series there for Gogan. Offsides the play before, false start, and then this time Green gets around the corner and comes in and gets the sack on Pelluer. Gogan had a rough week last week in Washington. Charles Mann beat him 3 times.
Jackson to punt, his first kick of the night, coming with 3:13 left in the first period. Game tied at 7. Henry Ellard is back to receive from the 13-yard line. Ellard can't get outside and gets dumped back at the 11-yard line. Dropped by Burton and Penn after a 42-yard punt. Tied at 7. You can break it down to the basics with the Rams thus far this season. 3 or more touchdowns in the game. They're unbeaten. 2 or less, they haven't won. And when they've scored 27 or more points in a game, they're 6-0. 20 points or fewer, 0-7.
Frank, you played on a lot of teams that had excellent defensive units. I mean, there are just times you have to win those games where you only score 10 or 13 points. The defense has got to come through.
And you usually find the teams that are in the Super Bowl playing the championships are the teams with the defensive units that will win those games for you. The Rams have a superb defense, and they have just watched their offense over the past few weeks come together, and they've won the 5 straight. So they're playing the kind of football you like to see them play.
Rams 1st and 10 from their own 12-yard line. Charles White. Fumble! And recovered by Dallas. Jeff ROHRER recovers as Jesse Penn knocked it loose. And so the first big break of the game belongs to the Cowboys. And he's able to hold on to it just before it crossed the sideline.
Yeah, the guy that makes it happen is Jesse Penn right here. Watch him beat the block of the tight end, work down the line of scrimmage. Charlie White, they're going to meet right here, and out the football is going to come. This is the way an outside linebacker's got to beat the tight end. Force him into the ground, the hat right on the football. David Hill was the tight end. Penn makes the good play, and look at that. Served up. The Cowboys deep in LA territory.
Nice play by ROHRER as well to make sure he was fully inbounds.
But that is the way an outside linebacker, talking about Jesse Penn, plays the block of the tight end and gets in and makes the play.
From the 24-yard line, it's Pelluer under pressure, tries to set up the screen to Walker, and it's Irvin who breaks through to break it up back at the 27-yard line for a loss of 3. Leroy Irvin, much like the Rams, a disastrous start to the season. They suspended him 1 week. They put him on the inactive list another week. He was very upset about his contract, wanted to renegotiate, wanted to be traded, and now all of a sudden he's turned it around and he's playing very well.
He's been playing great, and certainly very strong Pro Bowl possibility again, but he just beat that screen. Read it very quickly and no hesitation, lots of confidence, beat the screen, got inside of it, and made the stop.
From the 27, second down and 13. Short gain over the middle as the catch is made at the 24-yard line by Mike Renfro, the wide receiver, who was underneath to make the catch for a gain of about 3 and back to the original line of scrimmage. Third down.
And underneath is a big word when you're talking about playing the Rams defensively. Guys like Renfro know that the Rams drop back into that deep zone. They're going to give you that 5, 6, 7-yard pass all the time because they want 2 guys to come up, put the hit on the receiver, hope that he coughs up the ball. You're going to see that all night. Question is whether Steve Pelluer is patient enough to work underneath over and over again.
Pelluer is 5 for 5. It's 3rd and 10. Pelluer throwing, man open, caught, first down, 13-yard line, Kelvin Martin. Martin was able to get outside Mickey Sutton and just does stay inbound and comes up limping.
Let's see how close this is. This is the angle to watch it from behind Steve Pelluer. A little low on the shotgun snap, but notice again the mobility. And Kelvin Martin, beautiful play on his part. Both knees solidly on the ground. Came back to the football, and Kelvin Martin at only 5'9". Easy enough to get down low on that one. Good throw by Pelluer, who, by the way, has looked awful good.
First and 10, Dallas at the 13-yard line. A minute 19 to play in the period. A 7-7 tie. Pelluer rolling, chase, loses the ball, but out of bounds as it winds up in the official's hands after he was hit by Mello, and still Dallas's football.
Now the dimension of Steve Pelluer we talked about earlier, he'll move out of the pocket. He's not a bit concerned about running the football either. And his receiver in the end zone, Renfro, I believe, had made an out pattern. He was covered well by Jerry Gray. Pelluer pulls it down and picks up 4 yards out of it. Danny White, who performed well against Washington last week, over 350 yards passing. He's watching the youngster Pelluer. Obviously, Cowboys in a rebuilding mode, whether they talk it or not, looking for players of the future.
Second down and 6 with Cosby going in motion. And the handoff on the inside to Herschel Walker, who takes it down to the 7-yard line.
So this sets up an interesting call for Dallas now. Tom Rafferty checks back in at center for the Cowboys, and this is an area of the field where, in this situation, Dallas likes to go into the shotgun formation, but they're not afraid to run it out of there either. Tom Landry kind of originated the running plays out of the shotgun formation, and they'll do it as easy as pass in this situation. But looks like Pelluer is coming all the way up underneath.
He likes rollouts down here also, and he got to play a little late. Pelluer did, and time was running out on his 30-second clock. He knew he wouldn't get it off. You saw him step into the huddle trying to get the play in a little more quickly from the bench. You see Tom Landry on the sidelines. Landry is talking to Paul Hackett, the offensive coordinator, now in his second year on that telephone when he's on the phone. And also Jim Erkenbach, the offensive lineman. It's sort of a committee. That's the way they decide on the play that they're going to call.
Some confusion on Pelluer's part, because when he backed out from under center, there still was 7 seconds left on the 30-second clock. So that must tell you that there was a great deal of motion involved, which, of course, nothing new in the Dallas offensive scheme of things. But that's where that motion will get you in trouble, because you can't run the play until the guy gets in the proper position.
And you can't get out of it. Once you have called the play from the sidelines, you could automatically, but he would not have had the time, and I don't think right now would have the courage to change out of a critical call that Tom Landry had set in.
He didn't like the look of the Ram defense. The Rams went to their nickel package with Clifford Hicks in there, and Pelluer took one look over the line of scrimmage and asked for the timeout. Herschel Walker, if you joined us late, was the big story on the first drive as the Cowboys took the opening kickoff, or took their first possession at their own 20-yard line. Herschel Walker making a catch there for a long gain, and then bursting through the middle to take the Cowboys into Rams territory, and then finishing it off with this move into the end zone.
Another thing the Cowboys like to do, and particularly when they have a quarterback like Pelluer, or what Tom Landry likes to do, he likes to give his quarterback an option down here. He likes to bring him on a rollout, look for a receiver, and if he's not there, give him the option to also run the football.
Now the Rams take a timeout. Kevin Green, number 91, I don't know what he saw, but he went sprinting into the Cowboy backfield to call a timeout. They're not going to give it to him.
He said, I didn't want it, I guess.
Tunney says no timeout. It was simply an official's timeout. The Cowboys come up with 2 tight ends, 3rd down and 4 from the 7-yard line. Fake toss. Pelluer has room, and he can't outrun Jerry Gray. The fumble comes after he was out of bounds.
The receiver that he was looking for, his option receiver, Renfro in the end zone, was either knocked off his feet or slipped, and Pelluer on that rollout did not have the option that he wanted, and that is to be able to put it up in the air. He had to run it.
And that is a sensational play by Jerry Gray. Really showed some acceleration coming out from the inside. He was lined up on the slot on the inside, and I'm not sure whether or not Jerry had contained on that play, but if he didn't, he sure covered for somebody that made a mistake.
Because for a split second, it looked like Pelluer was going to have smooth sailing into that end zone when he rolled right. There was nobody there, but Gray got the angle, is able to knock him down, and now Roger Ruzek to attempt a 24-yard field goal. Pelluer to hold. And the kick is good. Roger Ruzek, who lost his job in training camp. He was kicking at Thousand Oaks in the summer, released, and then they brought him back 2 weeks later. He's won the job, and he's done a nice job this season, and he's just given Dallas a 3-point advantage with 24 seconds to go in the quarter.
Dallas able to move that football again. And just a mix-up on the part of Pelluer and his receiver, Mike Renfro, either in the end zone or a slip, prevented what could have been a possible touchdown.
Let's go back and take a look at this play that Jerry Gray made and see if this might figure in later in the ballgame. Here's Jerry Gray lined up in the slot. Now the Ram corner is going to go into the end zone. When he sees the play, he's going to fall down. Pelluer is going to make the fake and make the break. Even though Gray's inside, watch him accelerate back to the outside and make this play. If Jerry Gray doesn't get it, see him go all the way to the inside.
That's Renfro, top of your screen. You can see what happened to Renfro. Now, he was the option for Pelluer. You either run or hit Renfro, and Renfro got all tangled up with Michael Stewart, tripped up, and down he went.
But on the run, that was fine because he had Stewart on the ground in the end zone. If Gray doesn't make the quick reaction, get back out in there, Pelluer is going to dance into the end zone untouched.
He made a Pro Bowl play, and that's what he is, a Pro Bowl player. Jerry Gray, they have him on either corners. Jerry Gray and Leroy Irvin. It's kind of interesting that they were Pro Bowlers last year ago because they play so much zone defense, and you really don't stand out that much, but these two have.
Normally, teams that have corners, the talent of Irvin and Gray, are more inclined to get locked up in some man coverage because that's how you really exploit the talents of two corners like that. But the Rams have a system. It doesn't matter what kind of man-to-man covers those corners are. They're going to play that deep zone regardless of who lines up on the corners.
John Robinson's system, and we will not vary.
No.
And it works.
Yeah, I guess it does.
24 seconds to play, first quarter. Dallas on top 10-7. Roger Ruzek kicks off, and Ron Brown takes it at the 1. The Olympic sprinter brings this one back out to the 18-yard line, and the tackle is made by Everson Walls. It was Ron Brown, you'll recall, in a Monday night game last month in Washington, running a kickoff back for a touchdown. And here comes Everett and the Rams. And again, if you joined us late, the Rams are still alive and they're hopes for a playoff berth. They have to win tonight. Then they need Washington to beat Minnesota, St. Louis to knock off Dallas next week, and then they have to beat, the Rams do, the San Francisco 49ers next Sunday night. If all those things happen, the Rams are a wild card. From the 18. Everett gets sacked back at the 8 as Too Tall Jones, who had 4 sacks in the Monday night game on the 1st of November in Dallas and hasn't had a sack since. Gets Everett here.
And Too Tall just lines up in his left end position. Here's Big Ed Jones. This is Jackie Slater. Nothing more but a simple outside move. He beats Slater to the corner. I don't know if Jackie Slater was too preoccupied with taking away the inside, but he set too far back to the inside, and Ed Jones does two things. Takes down Jim Everett and leg whips Jim Jeffcoat at the same time.
End of the quarter. We'll return to Anaheim after this message and a word from your local station. We begin the second quarter, and this ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealer. The Great American Road belongs to Buick. In Anaheim, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, 10-7 Dallas. We start the second quarter, 2nd and 20 for the Rams. And Charles White tries to give them some breathing room out to the 14-yard line. He goes, and he is stopped there by Kevin Brooks. Now there is the run-back specialist, Kelvin Edwards, with a sprained right ankle. And they'll check him out at halftime and see about his immediate future.
Doesn't look promising, though, does it?
Nope.
Elevate the ankle, apply the ice. When a guy's not up walking around on it, extremely doubtful. We'll see Martin back in the second quarter. Edwards, rather. Kelvin Edwards, number 81.
3rd and 15 now. Everett sets up the screen for White, but that's busted up by Victor Scott, number 22, who breaks through the blocking and knocks him down.
Victor Scott, they wanted to look at a great deal tonight, along with the other safety, Vince Albright. But look at Randy White. Now, we were told not to expect to see too much of Randy White because of that pinched nerve in his neck tonight. And there, all he does is just barrel through Newberry, who was trying to get a little help from Pankey.
Hatcher's kick is taken at the 41 by Kelvin Martin. And Martin is tackled at the 48. Tim Terrell makes a stop, and so from midfield will Dallas begin its next drive. The Cowboys on top by 3. Herschel Walker can best be illustrated here. There are the men who have gained in one season 700 yards rushing and 700 yards receiving as well. Some pretty good names there. Charlie Taylor and William Andrews, Marcus Allen. There is the list of 7. Nobody has done it twice, but Walker is almost a lock because there are his figures for this season. So he is on the verge of becoming the first man in the history of the NFL to accomplish this on 2 occasions.
And he was doing it in a season when he was sharing so much of the duty early in the season with Tony Dorsett.
And there are his numbers tonight. By the way, when you look at that graphic, it really hammers home what Roger Craig did in '85 when he was over 1,000 yards both rushing and receiving. You only got to do that.
First down, Dallas, from its own 47-yard line. And it's Walker taking it right to the 50.
And it's interesting, too, to realize that it was Paul Hackett who was with those 49ers as an offensive coordinator, who is now with the Cowboys when Roger Craig did it. He is now with the Cowboys. So what you're seeing is a reflection not only of Paul Hackett, but of Bill Walsh and the San Francisco 49ers, which is not a bad idea for any team. Get involved in that kind of offense. Good point, Frank.
Walker, as you can see, carrying the ball 19 times per game since he moved into the starting lineup. And there's Dorsett, who gets tackled back at the 47. Dorsett, meanwhile, since he was moved to the bench, has carried the ball coming into this one just 23 times in the Cowboys' prior 5 games. So as you can see, Tony is on the shelf and pretty much on the edge in terms of his future.
Well, he got no help that time from his offensive line. Jim Collins just came on a straightaway run blitz and just ran right over Nate Newton, the left guard, and Tony Dorsett didn't have a chance on that play. I mean, he didn't even get close to the line of scrimmage. Lucky he got within a foot of it all on his own.
3rd down and 10 from the 47-yard line. And Pallur has to step up, escapes a tackle, and then at the 40-yard line, the catch is made by Mike Renfro. And he's tackled there by Clifford Hicks after Kevin Green had his arm on Pallur, but he was able to escape, get the pass away, and pick up the first.
But you know what Tom Landry is going to tell Pallur? He's going to tell him you didn't have to leave the pocket. The protection really didn't break down. I mean, we saw Reed being ridden upfield. That was a case of Pallur really not seeing what he wanted to see, and Frank, rather than sit in there and wait till the end, he takes off.
Pallur having a perfect night. He is 7 for 7. Cowboys at the Ram 40. They lead by 3. Walker tries to spin one way, breaks a tackle, breaks a second tackle. A flag goes down, and so does Herschel.
We may see a face mask, because I didn't see any other defender around that could have caused anything else. Might have been Michael Stewart. Yes, that's going to be the call against the Rams. Let's see if it was Stewart, number 23. We'll take a look at it, I'm sure, after we get the call.
Face mask, 5 yards. Number 23, defense.
It is Michael Stewart getting the face mask call, and a good look at it here from the end zone.
Interesting as we watch it again. Little play action. Pallur looking deep. The deep receiver covered. And how many times have you seen Roger Craig in the same position? The secondary receiver out of the backfield, but the one you know you're going to get the completion with. High percentage like it was and is with the 49ers, and this is what the Cowboys are using so much of.
And a good look at how Walker forced that penalty by his spin back to the inside. That was a darn good effort that time by Herschel Walker.
Penalty gives him the first down, and there should be illegal motion here as Newsom was moving forward, and that will negate the run by Walker. And the Cowboys were out of sync from the inception of that play.
Negate a terrific block on the part of Newsom also. Chopping that nose tackle. He takes a tremendous pounding with that back. We see so much of it nowadays, Dan, that back of the tight end riding in on him.
2 men moving, number 84 and 34, still first down.
Well, in reality, it was 84 and 30 were the two guys that were in motion at the same time. Here's Doug Cosby on the outside. Here's Timmy Newsom. Cosby's going to go forward. Newsom's going to go to his left. Both of them will be moving at the snap of the football. Whoa, no, they're not. Ooh, look at that. Cosby got back and got set by the time the ball was snapped.
He seemed to.
Sure looked like it from that angle, like he was back and set.
1st and 15, and here's Dorsett. Ridden down at the 28-yard line by Mel Owens. Back to pretty close to the original line of scrimmage. With 10 minutes and 35 seconds to play in the first half. Cowboys on top, 10-7.
All those years, over 12,000 yards tonight. Needed a little over 130 yards coming into tonight's game to catch Franco Harris. About 320 yards or so to catch Jim Brown. And of course, Walter Payton is out of sight.
You saw the graphic before. He's the second oldest running back in the league. Tony Galbraith, who's a specialist with the Giants, is the oldest. Dorsett goes to the outside, and Cromwell rides him down at the 25-yard line. Nolan coming up from his safety spot. And the Cowboys will have upcoming a 3rd and about 7 now. Dorsett still has 2 years remaining on his contract. He knows he can't be the starting running back with Walker healthy at Dallas, and so there's a decision to be made, I guess, on both ends, the Cowboys and Dorsett himself.
And of course, you don't trade 12-year veteran running backs. They're like fighter pilots in terms of longevity.
Well, you don't trade them because of that monster contract.
And nobody really wants them. They've been around that long.
I get the feeling the Dallas Cowboys want him. I think they'd like Tony to accept that role and honor those 2 years.
On 3rd and 6, Pallur lost it for Renfro, out of bounds. Jim Collins put the pressure on Pallur, forcing him to loft it. And Clifford Hicks was back covering on the play, and that's Pallur's first incomplete pass of the game, and it brings in Ruzek for the field goal attempt.
And looking at the coverages involved on that pass play, it really was about as well thrown as Pallur could throw it. Anything back to the inside of the field is going to be intercepted. It's just one of those plays where you've got a primary receiver. The play is built around that one receiver. You have no choice but to air it out, and Pallur put the ball where it's either going to be a spectacular grab for a touchdown or what it was, an incompletion.
42-yard attempt with Pallur holding at the 32-yard line. Rams have been proficient in blocking kicks this season. Not here, though. It's long enough and good. So Ruzek has been perfect tonight. 2 for 2 plus an extra point. And there's a flag down. So let's wait and see what Tunney's call is. He's talking to the Cowboys, indicating it's against the Rams.
I think they ran into the kicker. There may be a roughing the kicker here. It might have been Jerry Gray. who got a foot in the face.
And now Dallas might have the option of taking 3 points off the board to get a first down and keep the drive going.
That'll be an automatic first down. Jerry Gray rushed from the top of the formation. Let's get this call from Jim Tunney after he's done walking.
Now here the question is for Dallas, do you want to take the 3 and make it 13-7, or make it 10-7 with a first down after a 42-yard field goal?
It's tough to take those points off the board once you put them up there, particularly when you're out at the 25-yard line. I guess it's made easier when you're 5-8 on the season.
Was on changing the rule. Dallas requested they take the 3 points, and that is accepted. Field goal counts.
So there was a penalty, but they will not take the points off the board.
Watch Jerry Gray right there. Watch him get the foot right in the shoulder, his right shoulder. But even though it looks like Gray was the guy that took the lick, you cannot make contact with the kicker when he has his leg in the air.
He's so vulnerable, and that's why the rule, even though it looks like it could be against the kicker.
Little byplay during the commercial. Apparently the Cowboys really wanted to take the first down and take the points off the board. But when Jim Tunney, the official, came to the middle of the field, you heard him say, and there's the audio if we can pick this up here.
Well, watch Pallure talk to Landry. Tom's saying, why didn't you take the first down?
Well, Tunney said there was a discussion about changing the rule. What he meant was a discussion about changing the decision. They made the decision, and then they wanted to change it, and they couldn't. It's 13-7. That's the bottom line as Terrell runs it back, and a flag is down back at the 35-yard line, meaning that one of the Cowboys was offside on the kick.
Kicking team.
Somebody has to explain to me, well, they don't have to, but it would be nice, where on the Dallas team did that decision come from to take the 3 points?
Is declined.
All right, we'll get this out of the way. But I mean, hey, you're talking about a ball club that has a 5-8 record. Why do you not take the automatic first down that comes with roughing the kicker and go for it? You have no pressure to take a field goal. I mean, that's a terrible decision by whoever made it.
Obviously, Tom wanted to do just that. It was just a communication between Tom and Pallure.
From the 28-yard line, 1st and 10, Los Angeles, trailing now by 6. And Charles White brings it out to the 31-yard line. He is stopped by the middle linebacker, Steve Diassi, number 55.
Well, I can only say this, and then we'll let it rest, but if Steve Pallure made that decision on his own to leave the 3 points on the board and refuse the penalty, he's feeling pretty heady of
well, two things. Either he wasn't aware it was a first down, or maybe he just interpreted the decision from the bench as being take the 3.
Either way.
Well, at 5-8, probably the only reason you would do it. It's not a bad call. You put 3 points up on the board. A lot of things could happen by the time you got it into the end zone or another 3 points.
2nd and 7 from the 31-yard line, and it's Everett off balance, throwing into traffic, and is lucky it wasn't picked off by Jeff ROHRER, intended for the tight end, David Hill, who doesn't catch many passes.
Jeff ROHRER came a long way for that one, and Everett had a lot of float on that ball. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, maybe John Elway can run all the way back across the field. Look at that ball kind of dropping in there. That was not a bullet by any sense of the word. And maybe John Elway gets away with that pass, but Jimmy Everett got away with it barely. That was almost an interception. Tough pass for a quarterback to throw. Running to his right, giving ground, and then off of his heels to try to throw back across field. Not in this league. That doesn't work very often.
3rd and 7 now from the 30-yard line. Pressured again. Everett throws off balance. Well out of bounds. Intended for Kevin House. And that time again it was Jeffcoat putting the pressure on. We saw Jeffcoat have a big night in that Monday game against the Giants on November 2nd, but he's been pretty silent since.
Look at him take the inside on Irv Pankey, number 75. Newberry comes out to try to help, but still a good move that time by Jim Jeffcoat, who's feeling the heat in Dallas. Only 2 sacks so far this year. Keep in mind, that's a guy that had 14 sacks last year.
Hatcher's kick floats to the 25-yard line. Kelvin Martin to the 35, and a good run back as Martin goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Run out by Richard Brown, rookie out of San Diego State. And there is a marker down, all the way down at the 38-yard line.
You know, it's almost impossible to get a run like that these days without a flag on the field.
And that flag is thrown up 20 yards from where the play ended. 20 yards downfield.
Player, number 52, downfield illegally, is declined.
And that's why, because it was Larry Kelm leaving early.
Well, it's nice to see that the Cowboys were able to put together a productive punt return without some sort of a penalty.
Meanwhile, no team in the history of this league has gotten to the playoffs after beginning 1-7. The Rams are trying to do it. Closest any team has come in 1970. The Bengals started 1-6 in Cincinnati and wound up in the playoffs.
Yeah, but there's never been a year quite like 1987.
From the 42, it's Walker. Run out of bounds at the 47 after a gain of 5. It takes a bunch of them to stop him.
He has power that you don't even feel a sense up here. I mean, it makes it look so easy. A little bit like Jim Brown used to carry tacklers.
I guess he just didn't want to get dirty. I guess he just didn't feel like getting dirty on this play.
That's Newsom out in front again.
It's not very good blocking. I mean, Doug Cosby there gets driven back into the play. Newsom puts a pretty good block on Stewart, but look at this, folks.
I mean, that never does go down.
Kind of helpless, I think, Michael Stewart confronting Herschel Walker nose to nose and taking 3 or 4 shots at the guy, and he's impervious.
2nd and 5. Pressure on. Pallure throws into traffic, and it's incomplete at the 47-yard line. Kevin Green that time came bursting through.
Yeah, they'll take that one out of the playbook as soon as they look at the tape on that one. Middle screen. It's a little dangerous, number 1, and the Rams read it all the way.
It was Jim Collins who was unmolested.
Any number of things could have happened, and they would have all been bad.
And Kevin Green was able to help dislodge the football from Herschel Walker's tentative grasp, and it's 3rd down and 5 now at the 47-yard line. 7:49 to play in the half. Dallas on top, 13-7. Crosby in motion. Pallure hit as he throws, incomplete, intended for Renfro, and he was hit by number 65, Fred Stokes. And John Robinson thinks Stokes can be a big pass rusher for him in the future.
And I think Stokes was clear down on the ground and was able to get back up off of the turf and get in and get that hit on Steve Pallure.
He's a rookie out of Georgia Southern, plays on passing downs, and Robinson likes the progress he's made.
Of course, the Rams are missing Sean Miller, who's not playing tonight. He's got 6 sacks for the Rams. A guy like Stokes is helping fill in.
Miller missing his 8th straight game with an ankle injury. Saxon's kick. Ellard at the 16-yard line and starts to slip as he runs it back and returns it to the 17, tackled by Ron Burton. 7:35 to go in the half. Dallas on top by 6. 7 and controlling the football. Just about a 2-1 margin.
And going into the game, we would have thought that would have been exactly the opposite. The Rams with the big offensive line were looking to be in the ball control tonight.
1st and 10 Rams from their own 17-yard line. White. Flag. He gets out to the 23-yard line.
Right there where you usually get the holding call, and Charlie White is playing with a very sore foot. You can't detect it because, like John Robinson, his coach said, it doesn't hurt quite so much when he runs as it does when he walks, but nevertheless it is painful. And the league's leading rusher has taken quite a pounding since replacing Dickerson, is playing with a very sore foot tonight.
Let's see who's going to be the lucky recipient of this holding call.
67. Offense, half the distance to the goal line.
Jackie Slater working on Too Tall Jones. Ed gets back into the play, but it's Duval Love, the right guard, number 67, who's lucky enough to get his name mentioned on Monday Night Football.
As he replaces Dennis Harrah.
What a lucky life the offensive lineman leads. Get your brains beat out an entire game and get singled out for a holding call. Some fun life.
It's 1st and 18. The penalty half the distance to the goal line, and White moves it out to the 13-yard line. Stopped by Steve DiOssi. Ernie Staudner,
defensive coordinator. He's talking upstairs with Dick Nolan, signaling the defense is in. Former great with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Hall of Famer.
I think defensive signals have to be easier than offensive signals. Because let's be realistic, defensive players aren't as smart as offensive guys, and therefore the signals would have to be a lot less complicated.
I understand the prejudice.
2nd and 14 as Everett goes deep for Goulman. Goulman reaching for it, makes the catch at the 40-yard line.
What a catch!
Like Y.A. Tittle told me one time, you'd have been Del Shocker, you've been coming back for it. Goulman, he's not the quickest out of the backfield. We've seen that already tonight, but again, a very versatile back. Good blocker, we've seen that tonight. Good heady football player. Gets himself tied up on the linebacker, Jeff ROHRER, and keeps his eye on the football, extends, comes down with a great catch.
Oh, that was sensational. We saw Goulman, remember, in the first quarter, locked up one-on-one with DiOssi, and the pass was overthrown. This time the pass was overthrown, but he left his feet and got it.
27-yard gain, and it's White now. On 1st and 10 from the 40, as White moves it out to the 46-yard line, and it was Goulman throwing the block to lead the way.
I'm sure after running 30 yards downfield, Mike Goulman didn't mind throwing himself to the ground and getting a little rest.
Charles White, his fortunes very much paralleling those of the Rams, whose season started so disastrously at 1-7, and it looked like they were going to wind up about 2-13 or 3-12. Instead, they're trying to extend a winning streak to 6. White gets hit at the line of scrimmage and then moves forward out to the 48-yard line, setting up a 3rd down and 2. He's hit down by Jim Jeffcoat.
Some kind of tough. Charlie White.
What a great year it's been with all his personal problems that have been talked about so much during the course of the year. Get an opportunity once again, and he has made the most of it. And I don't think anyone could be any more proud of it than his college coach, John Robinson. He loves to give him the football, and Charlie White loves to carry the football.
3rd down and 2 from the 48-yard line. And Everett to throw. And Everett looking for the 1st down on the ground and has it. As he gets across the 50 to the 49-yard line, he's stopped by 2 tall Jones after a 3-yard gain and a 1st down.
Well, the Rams that time had good protection up front. Here's Ed Jones. He's going to work his way all the way back upfield and fall back in to make the play, but really Jim Everett had a lot of time to dance around in the middle, and what had happened, the 4 Cowboy linemen can't put the heat on Everett, and the linebackers had dropped too deep, and it's to Ed Jones to make that play. If he doesn't do it, Everett easily picks up another 5 or 6.
1st down at the 49-yard line, and it's White for a gain of 3. Charles White, Heisman Trophy winner at USC, drafted by Cleveland. They had a passing and full-black oriented attack with Mike Pruitt, so he didn't play very much there. He had drug problems there. It looked like his career might be prematurely over, and when he was signed by the Rams, a lot of people felt it's just a John Robinson payback. He's just giving him a job. And here he is leading the league in rushing.
What did John Robinson tell us this morning? That's going to happen every year if he has his way. Somebody from the Rams is either going to lead the league or be in the top 2 or 3.
2nd and 7, and Goulman gets hit hard at the 40-yard line by Victor Scott, who was involved in an auto accident in Dallas a couple of nights ago and took 6 stitches in his head.
He's one of 2 safety men we're going to see a lot of tonight, Victor Scott and Vince Albritton. As the Cowboys start to look at a lot of their younger personnel, they're going to bring out the sticks. And I think Herschel Walker maybe put it the best. He said, we're a team with a lot of old guys and a team with a lot of young guys and nothing in the middle.
Well, the guy who's on the bubble as far as Victor Scott is concerned is Michael Downs, who's been starting at free safety for the Cowboys for quite some time. As we see, it's only a couple of inches short. You know, Mike is only a 7-year player from Rice, and yet Victor Scott was really challenging him during training camp. And Michael Downs is going to be one of those guys going to have to fight for his job next year in camp. Bill Bates, as you say, Frank, the same way. You talk about a team in transition. Dallas is Dallas is a club that still has an awful lot of old guys, and you have to wonder if maybe it's not going to be a while before they round the corner. It's not going to happen overnight.
Like Herschel put it, the ones they're missing are the in-betweens. The drafts from 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago that never paid off.
The guys who should be in the prime of their lives, the 26, 27, 28-year-old guys.
3rd and inches. LA at the 40-yard line. And it's Everett on a sneak for a first down to the 37.
Now that is an offensive line surge. When you need to pick up a first down on a quarterback sneak, that's the way to take everybody in a white shirt and just blow them off the line of scrimmage. There'll be no doubt about whether he got the first down here. Doug Smith leading the charge. Look at Danny Noonan, 73, just getting rolled back out of there. Newberry and Smith just fold him up like an accordion, and Jim Everett, needing 2 inches, gets about 3 yards.
Rams at the 37 now, trailing by 6, and White to the 30. And John Robinson loves the running game, always has, always will. He wants his tailback or ace running back, depending on the set, to carry the ball 25, 30 times a game. And he feels where you really win the game is in that 4th quarter when you wear down the defense. And he's got the guys who can do it with the offensive line and Charles White. 2-minute warning. Dallas leading by 6, but the Rams driving. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf. We talked at the top about White having a career in a year. There it is, 7 seasons, including 1 on injured reserve between 80 and 86. 1,378 yards. Right now, with a game and a half to play for him this season, he'd need 118 yards, well within his reach, to equal that mark. At the 30-yard line, it's 2nd down and a long 3. And here's White, who gets a short 3. So they're going to be about a yard shy of the first down, with 3rd down coming up, and Vince Albritton in on the tackle. Rams, with 1:47 to play in the half, have all of their timeouts remaining.
In a sense, though, that the Rams are getting back to Robinson football, and that is peck, 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 and then really feature the running game. They got out of a hole deep in their own territory with a great catch by Guma. They've kept this drive alive, and there's almost a feeling, a sense that offensive line now is beginning to blow the Cowboys out of there. And once they get going in that kind of mode, that's exactly what Robinson wants, and you can sense it.
3rd and a short 2, and Everett's going to throw again, as he did on a prior series, and into a lot of coverage. It's incomplete. Intended for Damone Johnson, but he was double covered on the play. Victor Scott was back there. And Everett really trying to thread the needle and couldn't, between Albritton and Scott, the safeties.
Well, you see Johnson, who was in the wing, just released, but draws double coverage right off the bat, and Jim Everett, with the play action, didn't get the kind of coverage that he was hoping for. Francis, Scott right there, and Everett had to release the ball before he had any idea, I think, that he was throwing into that type of coverage.
Francis able to bat it away in a 46-yard attempt now for Mike Lansford. With Steve Dills holding, Cowboys jump off, and the kick is good. And if the Cowboys were not drawn off, the Rams are going to have a chance to take some points off the board.
Well, they might have forced the Rams into flinching. This may go against Los Angeles.
Defense.
Oh, it did.
Now the Rams.
Your call. Oh, no question.
The Rams can have a first down and keep this drive alive, and Robinson enjoying the moment.
Well, we're going to see the white shirts move early. A question as to whether they came across the ball. That's Kevin Brooks.
26 is offside. 5 yards. Penalty is accepted. First down.
Michael Downs was on the outside. You saw Brooks 99 on the inside, and where the Rams were pretty heady right there and alert when they saw that movement by the Cowboys. I think they snapped the football, timing it well when they were across the ball in the neutral zone.
It was 4th and 2. It's now 1st and 10. LA takes 3 points off the board. It's still 13-7. And it's White getting to the 21-yard line, stopped by Danny Noonan, and the Rams are going to take a timeout.
Yeah, and by the way, the game's at Candlestick Park, and hey, it's not that tough to go in and win at Candlestick. Yeah, we found that out.
If you have a shotgun.
If you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, maybe. 2nd and 8 at the 20-yard line. And that's picked off by Jesse Penn, and Penn takes takes it from the 15 all the way out to the 36-yard line. And a scuffle along the sideline, and the Rams took 3 points off the scoreboard and wind up having a pass intercepted.
And it was Penn who replaced the injured Mike Hagman, who comes up with the interception.
Looks like it was Jim Everett over on the sidelines as a guy that starts this little fracas. He just throws that right into the arms of Jesse Penn, who didn't have to move. But watch it on the sideline. I think Everett's going to throw his right arm up there. Right there. Takes a shoulder and brings it right up underneath the chin. It really didn't. I don't know if that was quite as flagrant as it looked. Surely he's frustrated, but I don't know. The guy doesn't look like an attack type of guy to me.
He learned at the knee of Danny White. He watched White and Olkowitz last week in the Dallas-Washington game.
You guys are getting aggressive. A great move by Jesse Penn, though. Second-round draft pick a couple of years ago. Never really made it. Had a chance to take over from Jeff Rohr and couldn't beat him out. Hagman's out now with a broken fibula, and I'll tell you, that was a terrific catch. A lot of concentration just to come up with it, keeping his eye on it.
Now Dallas with 2 timeouts remaining. Screen, Dorsett, no blocking is there, and he runs out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Covered by Wilcher. So they have it at the 40, where it'll be 2nd down and 7, and 47 seconds remaining in the half. Dallas on top, 13-7.
I can't look at Tony Dorsett without thinking of Walter Payton at the same time. The two of them contemporaries through the years, coming into the league at relatively the same time, and tough to look at one without looking at the other.
And Pelluer gets sacked, and there's a flag down at the 33-yard line. He got up. He wanted to take the timeout, but he won't have to do that because the penalty stops the clock. It was Reed who gets credit for the sack and the holding call on the Cowboys.
He was dropped for a sack. Penalty is holding.
I think we're going to get the right guard, possibly Crawford Kerr, as being the culprit.
Rams will take the play because that will spend it down.
Holding, 68. Offense is declined. 3rd down.
Back to the 33-yard line.
That offensive lineman, you get the call, hear your name. Never raise that head up.
No, you notice Crawford kept it right down in there.
Well, at least the penalty was declined.
And that, you know, it doesn't count that way. Unfortunately, coaches never buy that the next day.
Right.
They're not very impressed with the decline of the penalty.
3rd and 14. Dallas from the 33-yard line. And it's the inside handoff to Herschel Walker. Big hole. Bursts his way forward to the 48, and that should be a 1st down. Cromwell and Gray converge on the tackle. And we'll see where they spot it. It's very close, too, and should be a 1st down.
What a weapon he is. In a passing situation, you give him a draw play. We saw him, Al, a year ago in the opening game of the season, out at about the 12 or 13-yard line.
And now Dallas is going to take a timeout, meaning they have 1 remaining.
And they gave him a draw play instead of going with the pass against the Giants, and that was the big play that won the opener for them. Here it is again. He is such a weapon. When you're thinking pass defensively, you turn this man loose. With the speed and the power, he again runs through Cromwell to get the extra 2 or 3 yards that he needed to get the first.
Did you notice who made the big block on that play as well?
Kirk.
Again, it was Timmy Newsome.
Newsome.
This guy is killing people tonight.
Coming up at halftime, a couple of interesting features for you. We'll take a look at the playoff picture with a week to go. Walter Payton, who is in Chicago, will be joining us, and Eric Dickerson, who is still here in Southern California for the moment, prior to heading back to Indianapolis tomorrow, will be joining us as well. We'll break it down for you, or we'll break down. At the 48-yard line, 1st and 10. Pelluer throws over the middle to a wide-open Walker, who gets to the outside, gets spun around, and then steps out of bounds to stop the clock at 23 seconds.
That was some kind of effort. Didn't result in a lot of yards, but it stopped the clock for Dallas. And Herschel Walker catches that pass a good 15 yards inside the field and still is able to work his way all the way over to the sidelines.
His 5th catch of the night. Dallas has 1 timeout remaining. They lead by 6. They have the ball at the 48-yard line at 2nd down and 6.
Remember, Walker is chasing those 2 700 yards, one for receiving, one for rushing, and he's almost there for the rushing. Only 2 more in the receiving. Maybe he'll get that one before the night is over as well.
They split him to the right on 3rd down and 6, or 2nd down and 6. It's Pelluer throwing over the middle, and it's caught at the 28 by Kelvin Martin, and Dallas takes its final timeout. So they get within field goal range. Leroy Irvin and Nolan Cromwell converge on the tackle, and the ball is down at the 29-yard line.
The weakness of that zone defense, and you see it here, Irvin playing way off, not going to get them anything deep. And with a lot of time, Pelluer was able to let Martin come across, clear the linebackers, and he was wide open. You'll catch a lot of things underneath the Rams, and they'll give you a lot of things short, but nothing deep. And you saw a good example of the zone right there.
His forward progress takes him down to the 27-yard line, so they are in range of a 44-yard field goal, and also they have enough time to run a play or maybe 2 prior to that, assuming they're able to stop the clock, because they do not have a timeout.
And that pattern we just saw run by Martin, I think, is the type of a pattern that Steve Pelluer, playing quarterback, allows the Cowboys to do. That's the type of a pass that takes a lot of velocity and a lot of control right over the middle that Danny White, because of his bad wrist, just has trouble executing. And if Steve Pelluer continues to play with the kind of accuracy he's showing here tonight, hey, maybe the Cowboys are really going to have something, because, you know, Danny's future is really in doubt. You really have to wonder if he's ever going to do it again.
Next week, New England against Miami could be a very big game. Would be a tremendous game. It would be for the AFC East title if Tampa Bay beats Indianapolis. But here we go into the ifs. And we'll clear up some of the ifs.
Had Steve Hurt had smoke coming out of his ears and research today.
But that's what we've got. That's the final game of the regular season next Monday night. New England and Miami from Miami. Cowboys shotgun. Remember, they've got to get out of bounds or throw an incomplete pass to stop the clock. And it's caught by Newsom. No, he dropped the ball, and that stops the clock with 10 seconds.
Nolan Cromwell was covering.
So 2nd down, but that's pretty much irrelevant at this point. Cromwell was covering. 10 seconds to play in the half. And here comes Ruzek.
The Cowboys would be able to run another play if they had a timeout remaining. A good effort that time, and remember, it might have looked like Newsom had the ball and pulled it into his midsection, but you got to bring both feet down to the ground, and Newsom didn't get him down before he lost possession of the football.
45-yard attempt from this range, 6 for 8 this season. And remember, he kicked 4 1/4 against the Giants on November 2nd. Pelluer to hold. Ruzek's kick is good. And so that's pretty much a 6-point swing, because the Rams had 3, took the 3 off the board, then the Penn interception, and Dallas is able to cash that in for 3 here. And a very happy Roger Ruzek has just given Dallas a 9-point advantage.
And in the second half, we're going to see the Rams do something that they don't do all that well, and that's play catch-up football. Jim Everett is the type of quarterback that doesn't have a whole lot of experience, and the Ram offense is a ball control type of offense, not geared to the big strike, the big play.
Even though they have the fellas who are capable of giving you the big strike, the big play, and Everett, Ellard, and Brown, but Ellard and Brown have been relatively quiet in the first half.
And this is it. You lose tonight, there is no tomorrow for the Rams. They know they have to win tonight. They've given you the other options. They have to win next week against the 49ers. They need help from Washington, and of course they need the Cards to win. Jim Everett, over the past few weeks, has developed into a different kind of quarterback, and I don't think he'll be as tentative as we have seen him in the past. Seems a little more in control of himself. But you know they're going to talk it over at halftime, because this game is the season for these Rams as far as staying alive for a playoff possibility.
6 seconds remaining, and back are Brown and Terrell, but chances are Ruzek will kick a little ground ball here and not give Brown a chance to run one back. Try to kick it to one of the up men. And he angles it, and it's picked up at the 25-yard line and run back to the 42 by Richard Brown. Dallas